With Barry.
Arlene Schofield.
My name is Shireen Snow.
My name is Carla A. Miles.
Diana Camuto.
This is Christine Dunford.
I'm me, Eden.
Caroline Macy. This is Walker Fannin.
Lydia Camille Dixon.
I'm Sarah Dates Wardam.
My name is Linda Preston, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 444. I'm here with Eugene Torres, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Not a problem, man. Thanks for having me.
No, the honor's all mine. For people who want to know what my talk show's about, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and to prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be, and to prove to them you can break the labels. So hashtag break the labels. So that being said, as a half hour, 37 minutes every time, freedom of speech, self-expression, say anything you want, do whatever you want, and starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
I'm a 27-year-old stand-up comedian from Orlando, Florida. I dabble in acting a little bit. Other than that, that's the life. You know, all I do is get on stage every night, tell some jokes, and chase the dream.
No, absolutely. So I'm going to ask you some easy questions, then hard-hitting ones. The first one is, how was your life growing up? And were you always in Orlando, Florida, or did you grow up anywhere else?
Well, actually, I was born in Gainesville, Florida, but we moved to the Midwest. We moved to like the Springfield, Illinois area when I was a child. So I grew up in Central Illinois, and then I just moved back to Orlando a couple years ago. Life growing up was kind of strange, I guess. I don't know. It seemed normal to me at the time, but I guess that's how everybody's life is. I grew up, I'm Puerto Rican, the last name Torres. I grew up in Central Illinois. Me, my dad, and my brother were the only Latinos there. I grew up in a neighborhood, you know. You sometimes hear some things, but you just dealt with it. You just thought that's how you know. Sometimes they would make like jokes at you because you're Latino, or call you Mexican, or whatever they thought could get under your skin. A lot of them weren't that bright, so it didn't really matter.
No, I can relate. What about for your college years? Were you a study nerd or a party animal?
I've never been a partier. As people probably see me and go, that's a partier, but never been a partier. High school, I just focused on playing basketball. I was a really good basketball player. I was supposed to play college ball, and then me and my high school coach got into a bit of a scuffle at the end of my senior year. So then I gave up that dream, and I became an MMA fighter from the ages of 17 to 21. College, I went to college. I have an associate's degree, but while I was in college, I was thinking, I'm never going to use my degree for anything. I'm just wasting my time, and I didn't go past my associates.
Well, you just brought up two things, hard-hitting things I'd like to bring up. One, did you ever want to be a pro basketball player? And number two, who inspired you or who influenced you to become an MMA fighter?
I did for most of my early teen years to 18 years old, 17, 18 years old. I wanted to play pro ball. I mean, I'm wearing a Celtics hat right now. I still love basketball. to become an MMA fighter, like I said, I had a little bit of a scuffle with my coach my senior year, so I kind of got burnt out on team sports for a little bit. I wanted to go to a sport where there was no coach. There was nobody that was on the sideline calling the shots for you. It was you lock me in the cage and then we compete, and at the end of it, that's what it is. And so I guess I was just athletic enough that I knew that I could do it. I knew that I would be a capable fighter, so I just took my athletic abilities, learned all I could, and was pretty successful.
No, absolutely. And now you mentioned that you have a degree in you do have a degree.
Associate's degree, yeah.
So did you ever want to proceed in that, or did you ever just say you want to be a basketball star or you want to be an MMA star?
With my college degree,
yeah.
I went to college because that's what they tell you you're supposed to do. But while I'm sitting in class, and I did very well in school. I was on honor roll through high school. I was on the dean's list in college, but it was kind of a natural thing because I didn't really try. And when I was in college, it was a matter of me sitting in class going, I'm wasting my time because no job that I'm going to get or no job that I want to pursue, this piece of paper is not going to help me get that. At the time I was in college, I thought I was going to be a fighter, and I could have very well done it. I've trained with the best fighters in the world. I have friends who are ranked top 10 in the world in MMA, and the reason I bowed out of that was because I know, like I said, I know guys who are ranked top 10 in the world, and they still got to work a day job to pay their bills. So the money's not there yet. You see a few guys like Conor McGregor, GSP, they've made good money, but most of them don't make money that you can retire on. So I bowed out of that and then started doing comedy, which really was my dream the whole time, but I just didn't think you could do it coming up in Springfield, Illinois until I found a way.
Well, first off, you can be a comedian from wherever you are. And I give you a perfect example. My dad's a school teacher, or retired school teacher, but he teaches part-time. And he says basically teaching, it's just doing 40 minutes of stand-up. If you can do that, you can do anything.
Yeah, well, the difference is in comedy, actually they say you're supposed to be in LA or you're supposed to be in New York. I'm still here in Orlando trying to find my way down here. But in Springfield, Illinois, there was no entertainment scene at all. You didn't even know where to begin. I just happened to meet this one guy while I was training MMA, and he said, hey, you want to come do this comedy open mic with me? And I didn't even know we had comedy open mics in the city. And I was like, yeah, let's go do it. So I went up there and I did it. I had a very good set, and that was the moment that changed my life. And here we are 6 years later, I think.
Oh, congrats. You should be very happy and joyful.
Yeah, it's nice knowing what you're going to do. It's nice, like, this is what I do, and I'm going to do it until I'm in a hole, and that's it.
No, the truth is you really need to be appreciated. Appreciate what you accomplished, number one. I don't know why I said joyful. I was going to say appreciative. And especially for me, I enjoy doing this. If I didn't, I would have gave up a long time ago.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I agree with you. You got to love what you do. And if you don't love what you do, you're doing the wrong thing.
And you're only setting yourself up for failure.
Absolutely.
And it's pretty much like I said, and I stand by with that statement and what you just said. Have to do what you love. And I want to do this until I'm in the ground. I'm not saying that to be cute. I'm not saying that to be funny. And I'm not saying that's what my passion is. So I don't want to work in a dead-end job, working for some Nimrod or jackass. And it's like hating my life, hating all the decisions.
That goes back to college, man. That goes back to college for me. That's because when I was in college, I didn't go to an Ivy League school, but coming out of high school, I scored very well on my ACTs. I had very good marks. I think I held like a 4.0 GPA. And like the Ivy League schools, like Harvard, Yale, Columbia, I think, they all were like wanting me to apply to them. And I didn't want to go to a school of that high regard and then take that to like the business world and just sit in a cubicle for the rest of my life. So I kind of gave up that path and attended a community college.
No, I agree with you. You know, look at most of the people. Well, most of the people. Look at me. You know, someone. If you said to me, if you ever, I'm on the outside looking in, and you're the in looking out. So let's look at from your point of view. Just spitballing here. I guess when you first approached my work, you kind of saw, oh, this kid went to college. He has like a degree in this. Yeah, but you know, the truth is, I can't educate. I can't educate my way out of a paper bag. And I read at a 5th grade level, learn at a 5th grade level. Never went to college. I basically, my school screwed me over about that. I basically have a IEP diploma. Do you know what one of those are?
I do not. What's that?
IEP diploma basically said it's a indivisible educational program. Basically, you took the classes where you had to, and you're done. So basically, what you can do with it is basically stick it up your ass. But what you can really do with it, it's like I said, it goes back to the working into a dead end job. You can work on cars. You can learn how to work on cars. Be a custodian. Work in a prison, work in a mental institution, a hotel, an office, work on refrigerators, and that's great, you know, for people who want to learn a trade. Unfortunately, I didn't want to do that. I guess because I'm too sensitive to being around those type of things, but it's kind of like I didn't want to do that. And I was labeled as handicapped, mentally disturbed, retarded. And I call it my boomerang. You know, you throw it. It's like, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. And when the boomerang comes back and whacks you upside the head, then you realize I just labeled myself. Now people are going to remember me as the kid who's handicapped and has a disability. And say, oh, yeah, I remember you. You always said you didn't have to do this because you have a disability. But I call it my boomerang. But it's pretty much you don't label yourself. And long story short, how I got started with this is I was sitting around with my family, and one of my brothers were talking. He's like, I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know what to do. So I go talk to him, go talk to her. If I don't take the state exam, he knows people, she knows people. And I said, what about me? And they said, what about you? You piss people off. I don't know if that's a talent or something, but I can really antagonize people. Let's see. I piss people off. I'm not educated. I never went to college. Can't hold down a job. Not qualified for anything. And even threatening to put it into a group home for the rest of my life. I said, screw it. I'm going to show you guys with a disability what I'm able to accomplish. And for 4.5 years, this June will be 5. Unofficially, I did 400. Actually, no, I take it back. Unofficially, 744 interviews. Officially, I did 444, thanks to you. And I did all this because, 1, I have the passion. And 2, I want to break the label saying, oh, you're not going to amount to anything. You're just, some kid with a disability. But I'm showing you labels don't dictate who you are and who you're going to be, and to prove to them you can break the labels.
Well, that's something that I saw from you, and that's actually what made me agree to do the interview right off the bat. First off, you seem like a nice enough guy, so I was like, yeah, for sure. But I could see you're passionate about it, and then that's what attracts me to people. Sometimes I find myself talking to, for lack of a better word, regular people, and they go home, they get up, they go to work, they do their 9 to 5, they go back home, they eat dinner, they go to bed, and they repeat all day. And I have nothing that I can relate to them about because that's not a life that appeals to me. And if it appeals to somebody, that's perfect. It just doesn't appeal to me. But what I related to you was I could tell you were passionate about it. You're doing your hashtag Break the Label campaign. I've done a lot of stuff that if I talk about it, it almost feels like I'm bragging or it almost feels like I'm lying. It's just because I've done a lot at 27. Being a top-level basketball player, being an undefeated MMA fighter, and now I'm a stand-up comedian. I do acting. I had a commercial in the Super Bowl last year with James Vanderbeek. I seem like a liar. I almost feel like I'm lying to myself, but it's all true. So I felt your passion, and I like the fact that you're out there trying to do what you want to do because that's what I'm trying to do.
Hey, like I said, hey, supporting a good cause, making a new friend out of it, and we're just taking it one step at a time. And it's pretty much, like you said, yeah, I see, you can look in someone's eyes, you can see if they're full of crap. You know, it's like, why do they have brown eyes? Because they're full of crap.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you know CM Punk?
I'm familiar. I saw him fight. I knew that was a mistake.
Well, give or take. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to say something that's like, oh, you said this. No, I don't want to have anything to do with your show.
I would have came out of retirement and fought CM Punk, all right?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny we should mention it. I'll get to that in a minute. But I'm like CM Punk. I'm straight edge. You know, the whole thing's straight edge. And I don't drink. I don't smoke. I walk to the beat of my own drum. I have no filter. That's kind of what antagonizes people because if I pop up with something, it's like, oh, that sounds great. Then I realize after I said it, I went, no wonder they think I'm an asshole. Because I have no filter. I like to be different. I don't follow the sheep.
Well, exactly. And if you hung around me long enough, you would find out that I speak my mind almost immediately as well. Lots of times, I kind of avoid groups just because I can't deal with their nonsense. And I know that if I'm around a certain group of people and I'm sensing their bullshit, then I'm going to say something to them. So, yeah, I feel you. I understand that. Sometimes I feel like I get labeled as an asshole or something as well. But really, if you get to know me, I'm a very nice guy and I care about a lot of people. And I'm actually one of the comedians down here in Orlando that will take my time and try to mentor younger people and kind of push them in the right direction. And then sometimes that comes off as being braggadocious or acting like a know-it-all, I guess. But really, it's just a care for the craft and a care for the people.
Hey, if you like to coach me, I really appreciate it.
You trying to do some comedy?
Well, you know, it's pretty much I'm working on my self-confidence. So, hey, you want to help me? I help you. You know, so win-win.
I've got plenty of self-confidence, that's for sure. That goes back to when I told you on maybe pre-interview that I was a big fan of The Rock. I feel like The Rock probably built the most of my character growing up. So I just try to emulate, be like him.
Now, for me, you can kind of say, well, you look like John Cena. My butt's beat a hat. But for me, people would say I'm the modern-day John Cena. Now, with the pelt, I do have my hat floating around somewhere. You know, working on my merchandise. Actually, that's a couple questions I do want to ask you off the air. But actually, one of it, I'm going to spin it around. Would you be interested in wearing one of my hats and shirts?
Sure. I would wear your hat. Like I said, I'm a supportive person. I'll wear whatever. I'm wearing a felt TV shirt right here, so.
Well, I know I don't want to impose on you. It's just basically right now I'm making a list of people, and it's pretty much let's see one example I have. I have a dog tag, and it says John Cena. Then I had a hat. It's oh, I'm the modern day John Cena, and I came up with an idea last night. I want to approach Stephanie McMahon again, and saying, how would you like to have someone who? Okay, I know she's got to say no. But how would you like to have someone who could be John Cena Jr., but as a cruiserweight? I can do a storyline where I win the cruiserweight belt, or we can market that. or the other idea would be I'd be in the audience. They would call me out, and I'd say, "Oh, you don't have the guts to put that belt on the line." I beat them for the belt. I win it. So, okay, now I'm WWE champion. And then you can continue the story saying, okay, unofficially, you're not a register. Hello. Thinking about Rito. You're not a wrestler. You're not a register. Why am I saying register? Jesus Christ.
Wrestler, we got you, man.
Wrestler. You're not an actual in-ring competitor as a wrestler. And it's kind of like, now, yes, you won the match, but the title would be taken away because it's vacated because you're not under contract. But, there's things like that you can do and say, hey, this kid with a disability, look at what he can do. He can be a champion, but at the same time, you can market that because, one, it's good PR because you're helping people with special needs. That's the point of my show. I'm turning myself into an example. And it's pretty much just saying, let's try it and see how far it goes. Even if it's a one-hit wonder, at least you can say you made a difference. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, all you got to do is, man, keep trying. If that's what you want to do, then send the email. Try to get a hold of their PR or whoever you got to talk to, their agents. I'm not sure how the wrestling business works. But the one thing I noticed is when you were speaking, you said she's probably going to say no. This is the entertainment industry, man. You get 100 no's before you ever get a yes. I've had multiple things that I thought were going to take me to the next level, and we were in talks. I had talked with executive producers of multiple networks. I always get to the end, got to know. But then at the other time, I get a lot of yeses too. It's just the no's are always going to outweigh the yeses, no matter who you are.
No, absolutely. Now I have two questions for you. Then we can take a break. There's this wrestler. I don't know if you got the chance to work with him. Not a wrestler. Eminem. Don't mind me. Don't do my interviews as a way. I build up hesitation. My disability shows more, so I'm trying to hide it.
You don't got to hide it, man.
So I was going to say, have you ever worked with Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, Jason David Frank? And he always says his one quote, and I'm going to pass it over to you, and I promise I will shut up. His one quote, he says, when I fight somebody, and I'm the Green Ranger, and I get to kick your ass, you can say, you just got your ass kicked by the Green Ranger. But if you turn it around and kick his ass, people are going to be upset at you because you beat up the Green Ranger.
I've never ran into him. I did see that he was doing MMA. I've never ran into Jason David Frank. I was a huge fan growing up. I loved the Power Rangers for sure. And everybody wanted to be the Green Ranger, and then he became the White Ranger, and everybody wanted to be that. I was definitely a fan growing up. But no, I've never bumped heads with him. I mean, I've never bumped into him or anything. Never seen him. I knew that he wanted to fight CM Punk too, but everybody wanted to fight CM Punk. That was going to be an easy payday for whoever fought.
What about a couple of names, and then we could take a break? Let's say you mentioned CM Punk. We mentioned JDF, Jason David Frank. What about Brock Lesnar? What was your opinion about him?
Brock, if he wanted to fight, he should have came into MMA before he ever joined professional wrestling. Because he has that college wrestling background. He is a freak athlete. Of course, he was busted with steroids and all that, but in the early days of MMA, everybody was doing steroids.
Look at Hulk Hogan.
But Brock wasn't like CM Punk. Because Brock had not a professional, but a collegiate wrestling background. He had trained. It wasn't CM Punk. CM Punk picked up jiu-jitsu a couple years ago and then thought he was going to be a fighter. Brock is a freak athlete with a great wrestling background, and wrestling is one of the most important aspects of MMA. So he, of course, came in and he won some fights, beat some great fighters, but he did have a lot of flaws. And those holes will catch up to you eventually, and they did. And the fact is, had he gone to MMA instead of professional wrestling, he might have been able to cover up some of those holes that he had in this game. But Brock was legitimate. for sure.
No question. And
these other guys going into it though, just to fight, is trying to. I don't like to tell people never to do it, but CM Punk, if he wanted to be an MMA fighter, he should have started as an amateur and then maybe went to some local, like, low-level pro shows, got on the circuit a little bit, instead of jumping straight to the UFC. And, of course, Dana White put him up there for the money grab because money talks, but that was ridiculous.
no, I agree. Now we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you two hard-hitting questions. Then I'm going to pass the show over to you.
All right, man.
Me, Mark Medley.
Hi, everybody. This is Mark Neely.
Barry Papick.
This is Peter Bruno.
My name is Kyle Collier. This is Julio Santiago, better known as Dynamite.
I'm Richard Epcar.
Orange Chow. This is Kerrigan Mahan.
This is Goldner.
And we both support
Keith Andrew.
My name is Ron Wasserman, and I am supporting Keith Andrew and what he is doing, and you better do the same, or I'm going to come kick your ass.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 444, and here's a good friend, Eugene Torres. With the last 12 minutes left, I'm going to ask you two hard-hitting subjects, and then I'm going to pass the show over to you. And the first one I'm going to ask you, I sort of asked you in the beginning, is who influenced you to become a comedian, number one, and how many years have you been doing this?
Influenced me to become a comedian. When I was younger, I would say around 11 to 12 years old, I would just skip school sometimes. I would play sick. I would play hooky, I guess they call it. And it was because at that time, Comedy Central was playing Comedy Central Presents. And they were playing like all sorts of stand-up around noon, which meant when I got home from school, I wasn't going to be able to see it. So a lot of times I would skip school or whatever and stay home and watch stand-up. And my mother would look at me and go, how can you sit here and watch this all day? And then as I got older, she always thought that I was going to be a comedian. My mother's the first one to say you're going to be a comedian. A lot of my influences in comedy came from a show called Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn. I think it used to play around 04. That would have made me about 14. I would stay up real late. It came on after The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. And it was just comedians sitting around talking about things that were going on in the world today. And my two favorite comedians of all time were on that show, which were Patrice O'Neal and Greg Giraldo. Both happened to be dead, so I wasn't fortunate enough to see them. And I think those are my two biggest. And I think if my third biggest influence is probably Chris Rock, because he was the first CD or DVD that I had of stand-up. I went to Walmart and found Bigger and Blacker in the $5 bin, and I bought that, took it home, and I watched it 1,000 times. So I think those are my influences in comedy.
For me, I would say Eddie Murphy, again, Chris Rock, George, hands down, George Carlin, Dennis Leary, Robin Williams, Adam Sandler. I admit he gets obnoxious at times, but he is really funny. I liked Adam Sandler, David Spade, whatever one's out there. Gabriel Iglesias is really funny.
I saw Gabriel Iglesias live. He once told me that I'm too attractive to be a comedian. Yeah, here in Orlando Improv, me and him had like a banter going. He does this section at the end of the show where he passes out cards that say "Ask Fluffy," and people write questions on them, and then he goes through and he reads his favorite ones. Well, Gabriel's my father's favorite comedian, so I had taken my father to the show, and I guess my dad had wrote something about me on it, and he passed it in. So then, Gabriel called me out of the crowd, and then he was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm a comedian." And then we went into this banter about me being too good looking to be a comedian. So that's all I know about Fluffy, but we did have that moment.
Hey, at least he made a difference in your life, right?
I don't know if he made a difference. He's funny. He's doing what I want to do. He sells out arenas. He's a good enough guy. He's clean. I'm not a clean comic. I try to be sometimes, but I also try to be me, and I'm not a clean necessarily clean person all the time. But
hey, no one's perfect.
Yeah, I guess another influence is Kevin Hart too. We just saw him over New Year's, but I like Kevin Hart more because he took himself from being a stand-up comedian, and now he's an icon. He's like the king of Hollywood. Everybody knows who he is, and up until this year, he had put more people in the Philadelphia Eagles arena than the Eagles had.
Well, what about social? Actually, this is a big one that everyone keeps debating about. Social media. Do you think I call it social media, can it make you or break you? So say you're the most funniest person alive, but you don't have a following. Does that dictate if people should work with you, or if you do have a following, and in my case, I can act my way out of a wet paper bag, do you think the message weighs out? So what kind of works?
I don't know if it should make a difference, but it definitely 100% does make a difference. For instance, if me and this other actor are up for a part in an audition, and they like both of us, we both have the look they were going for, we're both going to get the job done, they're going to look and see who has more followers on social media, and then they're going to put that person in the role. That happens all the time. When you're trying to get booked at clubs, they look to your social media. It definitely helps you. Now, hurts you? I don't know. I don't know if it'll hurt you. You would have to do some really crazy stuff on your social media for it to hurt you. Because people have about a 15-minute attention span on people, and then they're refreshed and they're good to go. Yeah, I mean, and I'm a comic, so I say what I want, and you hear it all the time. Comedians get in trouble for saying the wrong words, or people with their agendas come out and they just want, people want to be known for something, and a lot of people nowadays are trying to be known for telling other people how they can do things. You got a lot of social media warriors out there, but none of them have really taken anybody down. Dave Chappelle got some heat for calling people trannies in a special last year, and he just won a Grammy 2 days ago. So I think he's okay.
Now, I do have a couple questions off the air, but my last two questions for you on the air is, one, are you on social media like Twitter, LinkedIn, Stage 32? Are you on any of those fun sites?
Instagram's probably my favorite. My tag there's Eugene Comedy. I'm on Snapchat. You can find me Comedian Torres there. Facebook, just use the search bar, and then Twitter's Eugene Comedy too. And I think that's all I got. I don't have any other social media.
All right. And my last question for you is, when I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your first reaction, and what made you say yes? And how do you feel afterwards?
We kind of already spoke about this in the middle of the interview, but when you approached me to do your talk show, I get a lot of emails or a lot of people inquiring me about doing interviews or doing sorts of things on here, and I'm usually pretty receptive to it. When I saw you, you seemed pretty passionate about it. You seemed like a nice enough guy. And if I got the time, I'll do it, because that's all we want, is somebody to give us the chance or give us the time of day as we try to chase our dreams. So I got people who come out to my shows and do it, and if I can help out somebody trying to do the same thing, I'm going to do it.
No, absolutely. Hey, it's the thought that counts. It doesn't matter if it's big or small. When we die, it's always good about leaving a good impression left behind.
That's what I'm trying to do, man.
No, absolutely. Wrapping up our interview segment, it was a real honor and privilege to have you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road.
Me too, man. Thanks for having me.